Something you guys may not know about me, but I really can get down on a great Western movie. I was a huge fan of 3:10 to Yuma. As a matter of fact, I bought that movie twice, Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray. Obviously, like a lot of people, I'm a big fan of that movie No Country for Old Men with Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, and Javier Bardem. I quite enjoyed Django Unchained. I don't know if you guys call that a Western, but I think it's Western. When I Googled Western movies, that one popped up, so I'm calling it a Western. And of course, I did really like that movie, The Unforgiven, with Clint Eastwood. The point I'm trying to make is I can really get down on a great Western movie, but the most important question of this review is, should you watch Where the Wind Blows? Let's discuss. So Where the Wind Blows tells the story of a rugged cowboy who by chance ends up getting pulled into a situation no man really expects to find himself in. Having to pretend to be married to a woman so that she can adopt some kids. Go figure, right? It stars Trevor Donovan, Ashley Elaine, Ponyboy Curtis, I'm sorry about that, C. Thomas Howell, and Michelle Hurd. Let's start by talking about these performances. Well, they are mostly pretty solid. I thought Trevor Donovan and Ashley Elaine both gave it their best. However, their best, to be honest, was held back by some shoddy writing. Because if I'm being honest, this movie's writing is not necessarily up to par. There's quite a few parts of this movie where the dialogue, frankly, just feels forced. I can't really put my finger on what exactly is the problem with it. Oh yes, wait, yes I can, never mind. It's the romance scenes. The way the romance scenes are written in this movie, it just didn't sell it to me. I think this movie could have really benefited from some additional runtime to help flesh out this relationship, because by the time they started professing their love for each other throughout this movie, I was thinking, well, wait a minute, How do they love each other? It doesn't feel like enough has happened between these two to have gotten here. It just feels like we had a few moments and then boom, we're saying I love you. I'm assuming it's quite difficult when you're adapting a story, deciding what to put into the movie, what to take out. And in this case, I do think that there was some additional stuff probably in the novel that I have not read that would have made their romance feel less manufactured and more organic. Does that make any sense? I hope it does. I'm not trying to seem like a naggy bitch. That's just what I felt. Director John Shumkey clearly has a talent for putting a scene together. There's a painstaking amount of detail put into this world to make it feel authentic. And I think for the most part, this movie does look really good. It feels like you are in a Western. It looks like you are seeing old America. However, I can't help but feel like maybe a little bit of grit or graininess to make this film look a little less polished would have made it feel even more authentic to that Wild West time frame, because there's parts of this movie where the picture is just a bit too crispy and clean, and I never thought I'd complain about that, but it feels like you are at times watching a home movie with the level of clarity that this movie has, and it just didn't really necessarily serve the Western time period that it was supposed to be. It just looked too crisp. I do want to give a special shout out to Keriazakos. I thought he did a really good job, and his character was giving me vibes of Logan Lerman's character in 3:10 to Yuma. He's got that macho attitude, that overconfident personality that you kind of had to have back then so that you didn't get shot in this dirty streets of the Western towns. He has that bravado, that big energy, and I was wondering if he possibly took some inspiration from Logan Lerman's character in 3:10 to Yuma. I'm not really sure, but I was getting vibes of that, and I thought he did a really solid job. One of the strongest performances in this movie, to be honest. I also thought Michelle Hurd did an excellent job playing Miss Hollyhock, the nosy neighbor with a protective guard dog-like temperament. She really stood out every time she was on scene. Her character was well written, and this is a high caliber actress. She is no slouch. She's one of the best characters in this movie as well. All in all, if you're into Westerns and you're into romances and you don't mind a slight B-movie vibe, then this movie is probably going to entertain you. I think every actor in this movie did a great job. They did the best that they could with writing that I think could have been tightened up a little bit better. Maybe some more runtime could have been added and it would have improved some of that. But everyone did carry their own, and I do think that this director has a lot of potential. Is this movie capable of standing up next to some of the greats in the world of Western movies? No, I don't really think it is, because it's not particularly a great Western movie, and it's also not particularly a great romance movie. It's just so-so at both things it's trying to be. I do want to say though, the trailer for this movie is pretty well edited. It did pull me in, it had me curious, but how many times have we seen movies that have fantastic trailers, but then the movie ends up being just subpar? That's kind of the case with this movie, unfortunately. Before I wrap up this review, I do want to say that there was an unintentionally funny scene in this movie that I think was kind of campy and maybe I don't know. I'm just not sure what they were thinking with it. But it's the scene later on in the movie where the two characters, the main characters, are in this barn and they're getting ready to have some romance. And anyway, there is literally a blanket laid out on the hay as if to be prepared and ready for this exact moment. And I kept thinking, wow, this seems like the setup of a porno, because what are the odds of that blanket just being there? I think that was really a little cheesy, kind of funny, made me feel like I was getting ready to watch an R-rated film. In the end, this movie didn't really wow me. It entertained me, it kept me engaged, but I was not feeling overly compelled to watch this movie again. Now, I do want to say a message straight to the director, John, if you're watching this review. You do have great potential and a great future in the world of Hollywood. One thing I'm hoping that you will learn from this review and my previous review, and maybe just some of the other feedback that you've seen on other movies, is that I think you need to make sure that these scenes that you're writing are not lingering on too long. There was a scene in Don't Tell Larry where it was in the warehouse room where they had the urine jar. That scene kind of went on too long. And this movie kind of had a scene similar to that massage scene where she's like working on his shoulder. It felt like it dragged down a bit too long and it was starting to approach awkward. So for me, this movie is a 5 out of 10. It's nothing to really write home about, unfortunately, but it is definitely a B movie. It's not really trying to be a big blockbuster movie. It is going for that B movie status. I do think it could have tried to be a little bit more higher caliber, risen to the occasion, but unfortunately it just did not. That's my thoughts on this movie. If you've seen this movie, go ahead and put your thoughts on it in the comments and let me know what you think of it. If you like this review, which is kind of brutal, but go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.